I'm out in the Hamptons with a girlfriend one afternoon, one week, and I'm in the, no, yes, the Hamptons, and I'm in the kitchen, in a kitchen, and folks are talking about education, and I was listening, and then they asked me, Rashid, I was at Rye Country Day at the time.
Okay.
They were asking me about, and I begin to speak. A woman comes into the kitchen who had been evidently standing in the doorway. And she said, "Who are you?" She said, "I've only heard one other person speak and talk and share information about education in the same fashion you have just shared." And so I said, "Well," she said, "Listen, this guy's name is Eric Rothschild. And what you've got to see him. He's at Scarsdale High School." He said, "Where are you again? You're at Rye Country Day?" "Yeah, you've got to meet him." Okay. So this woman's name was Sharon Handler. She was working with Couder law firm in Belgium at the time, but she was just here. Okay. Sharon Handler, a Couder brothers law firm. Okay. That's where she was. She had just come back because she went to Scarsdale High School. And she's in the area. She said, "You've got to meet him." Well, lo and behold, after this sort of choreography and that, I eventually find a time to go over to Scarsdale High School. I go over, I'm directed to his office, which is in the library, and he's not there. But I go into his office, and I'm a curious thought. So he's one part of the office is for this other chap, Werner Feig, who I'll tell you about in a moment. Okay, if you don't already know. Okay, and so I look at the book, and the book is faced so he can read it, and I go around and go, "Oh my God, my uncle wrote that book." The book that I said, "That's bizarre." Dr. Benjamin Quarles, who, by the way, was Earl Graves' teacher at Morgan State in Baltimore. You can't even make this up. Okay, so so I go around, and he comes, and he goes, "Yes." I go, "My name is Rashid Silvera. We spoke on the telephone." He said, "Yes." I said, "Sharon Handler." So he says, "What are you doing over there?" I said, "You're not going to believe this, but my uncle wrote this book." I said, "Henry Steele Commager at Yale and my uncle are the two reigning scholars on opposite sides about Civil War Reconstruction." He said, "Oh, really?" And he's a little shorter than I am. He said, "Really?" But shorter, but height did not define the space that he actually occupied. Okay, so he says to me, "Come with me." We go off. I hear a bell ringing. We go. I'm now standing in front of his AP American history class, and he says, "This is Rashid Silvera," and he says to me, "Take it away."
Demo lesson, just like that.
Take it away. And it just so happened this stuff is, sort of impressed in me, and indelible. So and after the class, the guy stood up. Now, I don't even know whether it was too organic for him to have contrived this. The guy stood up and they clapped.
Wow.
He says to me, "You belong here." We go back to the office, and he says, "I don't know." Oh, he brings me down to Tom Sobel to meet, the head of Tom Sobel went to Newton High School. I'm a Bostonian, it was one of the, okay. We just hit it off instantly. And then he brings me back to meet Werner Feig, escaped Germany the night of Kristallnacht, goes off to Shanghai, comes back to internment camps, ends up living in the black neighborhood of Pittsburgh, PA. One of his best friends, Maurice Stokes, basketball legend, and Ahmad Jamal, who was Fritz Jones, jazz legend. He's the only white dude in the rhythm section with these cats. And they freaking love him. He's cool. He's just, and it means something for me because my father's Jewish. My father's a Sephardic Jew, and lived a lot of his similar flow. Okay. And I go, "Belong here. I'm going to be reborn." Oh, I get emotional. Yeah. I'm going to get reborn here. So I had to go back to Rye Country Day and tell Lee Pearson, the headmaster, who I love. Lee Pearson was a sweetheart. Do you hear me? I said, "Man, So at that juncture, when people hear I'm going to leave, the Resnicks, who still a family to me, Jack Resnick and his wife, and they're saying, listen, is it about salary? We'll make up whatever. These people were so sweet, different Rye country. I said, nah, so a lot of these cats end up, my students at Rye, hanging out at Scarsdale. Several of them start to have girlfriends, just extended family. When you connect with people, you follow one another around, if not actually spiritually. So that's how I came in 1980, 81. So Tom Silvell, I'm signing the contract. He said, you're going to basically spend the rest of your life here. So I was just thinking about being reborn. I wasn't thinking about, I was born black. I'm a die black. I didn't think I would just die black in Scarsdale. but as it turned out, my life here will be recreated in so many other lives of people who gave me their truth. And I tried to respond in giving them at least my opinion and my impressions, because when you're young, these young cats give you their truth. They give you all that they know. Shame on you if you tell them that you're certain about what's going to happen. You can just say, let's get prepared for something. Then let's just see how flexible your ass can get, because you're going to need to be able to move left and right. And, anyway, so that's how I come. A love affair. Oh, and by the way, I'm not there 2 years, not even, when I get a telephone call in the classroom. And there's a call, and I pick up the telephone. In those days, you got to direct. And someone said, the people of Condé Nast want to talk to you. And I'm thinking, Condé Nast? I'm thinking maybe it's a French historical society. There's an exchange student. No, Jordan, I'm not even joking. And I said, I'm busy right now. The phone rings again. It rings 3 times. And finally, Mary Pitt, the only other black person who was my queen, who was the main secretary at that juncture. She predated me. Mary Pitt passed away in 2008, but we can get to her later. My queen, my true north. And she says, and whenever she talked, I did whatever she said, Rashid, excuse yourself, come down here. These people will not, they're just going to keep calling. And she hadn't called initially, if she had called initially, but I thought it was a I go down there, and he said, this is John Shaheen. He said, I'm the editor of he said, well, you're going to be on the cover of GQ. And we wanted to make sure we had your So now I know it's a joke. Now I know someone's messing with me. But poor Mary does it, he said, you need to come down to whatever Madison Avenue, whatever the address was, the floor, Condé Nast building. And we need to make sure everything is straight. Rico Pullman. You took some pictures, didn't you? I said, yeah, I took some pictures. My ex-wife was a famous model, whatever, yeah, I've taken a picture. Okay. Well, I go down and I walk up the stairs. I take the elevator. I come out of the elevator. All I can see is my picture everywhere, because when you on the cover of GQ, that was the dance. Okay.
Right.
And so I have to go back, and now I've been to Scarsdale 2 years, 80, 81. I'm on the cover of GQ in 83. And I cannot tell you how anything could have happened, but all it did was just one more hug, one more way that UCAS can look through my lens and maybe see a more clear or brighter world, a world that, so in other words, I didn't become unreachable. My celebrity was the celebrity of access. He's my teacher. He's not. So I didn't even have an opportunity to act like I was all that because I could tell instantly, dude, my dad had run such and such. My grandfather started this bank. You know, did you know what I'm saying, Jordan? It was just, they were just saying, welcome. Welcome to the flow. I mean, and the parents were so damn cool. We were already tight. It just gave us another little facet on the jewel and on the diamond that was already cut beautifully. You know, so, and I began to do more than one thing at a time. And in my head, what that meant to me, Jordan, was that I would now have to spend more time with my students to justify in my head, to justify my time in front of the camera. So I started getting to school with the custodians. I became very close to custodians because we would open the school together. I mean, I was there, you know, a little bit before 6. You know, at first it was a pain in the ass. Okay, they were like, dude. And then, and when I would stay, I would go through all the, you know, go to the athletic teams. I'd some work out with the basketball season. I'd try to work out with Jack Kaminer's team. The football season, I'd be with Coach Pal or Ronnie Boucher. So suffice it to say, it was a rebirth. Coming to Scarsdale was besherit, is what it was. Yeah, that's really what it, Kimmy Jordan, that's really what it was. And because you can't be 35 years in any one place if you don't really. And I left when they wanted me to stay, rather than I didn't want to stay when they wanted me to leave. Do you know what I mean? So you always want to. That's a nice little refrain to remember. Yeah. You know, leave when they want you to stay, because if you stay when they want you to leave.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that I don't know that I've ever gone in such detail. No, I know I have never gone in such detail, but there is that, you know. And the brownness of me. Don't forget, I'm the only brown person, on the faculty. Eric Rothschild, of course, but I have he and Werner. As soon as they stamped my passport, man, I could have been doing James Brown impersonations, and they would, and cats would still thought, no, he's a serious person. So, and we went through several headmasters. There was only one headmaster who really didn't get it, but that's fine. That's just people being people. Anyway, go ahead, Jordan. I didn't mean to go off like that. And yes, I did actually mean to go off like that.
No, that's awesome. And then, as far as your it's not a word I use, but your brownness, how do you think that affected your relationships with the kids, either white kids or kids of color?
Well, okay, you're asking some interesting. You have big ones, don't you? You don't give a damn. You're just going to ask the hard question. Okay, well, it's a question to me. Okay, it's a question that I somehow deflect whenever, but let me tell you how it is. Early on in my interactions, cats asked me about my name. Okay. This is before I told them anything, and I said, I didn't start. I changed my name. I've changed my name twice. Initially, well, let me give you the second name. It was Ronnie Dilworth. All through high school, elementary school, I believe, and then a bit of PG year at a boarding school in Massachusetts. I was an athlete, whatever. Okay, and I was Ronnie Dilworth, and then I decided I might have been Ronnie Dilworth at Colgate for that 1 year, and then I decided, no, I'm coming back to myself. I was initially named Rashi. I was named after a Talmudic scholar, a French. Rashi was his Ben Yochanan Shlomo. Just do Rashi if you want to Google Rashi. I put the D on my name, okay? Because Muhammad Ali, a lot of these cats, were going for that, and I just like the sound of it. Rashid Ali was also a drummer, and one of the cats I grew up with was Miles Davis's drummer, Tony Williams. Tony and I grew up together. Tony is a little bit older than I am. And I remember the day we were playing ball. We used to play ball in the park, and he would drum on the jungle gym. So we were playing to his beat, and his father pulls up and calls him, and he comes back and he's crying. He's about 17 years old. He said, guys, I gotta go. My dad, I have to go play with Miles Davis. And we were looking at one another like, Miles Davis, and he left. 17, he ends up, I guess Elvin is later for Elvin will come into that mix. Anyway, Tony Williams. So after all these guys, like I said, Rashid Ali, I put the D on my name. So I told them this story. And a lot of the cats who happened to be Jewish in my in my class, well, the story went around like fucking wildfire. Mm-hmm. Okay. And, the cats talk. And then certain parents come in. So I became sort of a melange. Yeah. I'm a brown cat who's from the rhythm section from Roxbury. I have that flow. I was born in the ghetto. Ghetto wasn't necessarily born in me, but whatever. So I have this. I'm an athlete. I went to Colgate. I ended up at Harvard. All of these things. They would, if you like that, you could grab onto that. There was so much. I gave these cats so many reasons to feel an incommonness.
Right.
I already felt in common with these cats. One of the parents, or two of the parents, came in and said, listen, we do volunteer work at the Woodfield Cottage. And the Woodfield Cottage, is where little bad boys, they're not really bad people, but they don't have a home life. They don't have this, they don't have that. They end up at Woodfield Cottage. He said, Rashid, if you will go and speak to these people, it would mean the world to us. I thought a long time passed, and Mary Pitt, the secretary down at the main office, talked to him when they said, listen, I understand that some parents have made a request. You're going to do that. Next thing you know, I had nothing. All I said was, yes, Miss Pitt. So the next thing, and if you do Rashid Silvera, I guess Woodfield Cottage, and basically I'm telling these cats, let the rest of it be the best of it. Don't you cats stop here. You guys, you don't see any doors. I know all you see is walls. I know what that's like. You're looking for a knob. You're looking for any indication, a damn window. Show me some light. Show me a way out of here, and I will follow you. I said, sometimes, man, you got to draw your own door. You got to have that much faith in your imagination. You see that wall? Draw a door on that wall. Draw a knob. Open that shit up and scram. And I said, all this has to happen internally, of course, because the walls are really in here. Mm-hmm. So draw that door in here. And just get out the wrong side of your head.
Did you ever get any feedback?
Yeah.
When you hear how effective?
Yeah, some of these cats, man. There's one cat, Heavy D. His last name is Myers, and he was Jamaican, and his younger brother Floyd Myers. And I can't be telling people stories without their permission. But Heavy D blew up.
Right.
He just got. He was a chap of substance, but he also, and then Floyd was. And some of the cats are money earning. I call Mount Vernon from money earning. Some of these cats, and some of these cats from White Plains. So, not everybody has the same launching pad, but not everybody will visit the moon either. You know what I mean? And some of you cats are closer to the moon than you may already know. Yeah. So some of you cats have already been launched. And the fact that you're so high, that's what frightens people. To be so bright and so black and so poor. at the same time, that isn't necessarily something that gives people comfort.
No.
You know, it gives them wonder, like, what the fuck? How, I know how I got here. How the fuck did you get here? What do where'd you go to school? Nowhere community college. Noni, went to Noni University. I mean, and Jordan, dude, I'm preaching to the choir. I'm preaching to the choir.
No, I know.
I mean, you see. So what I'm saying is that Scarsdale nourished that energy in me. And I would never have taken anything as outside of myself. You know, I became someone, I'm still self-absorbed, but I became someone who's I just shared the affection I had for myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because to be a brown cat with a Jewish, yeah, you better have your own confidence, because you can't wait for somebody to tell you that they believe in you, although that would eventually happen in spades. If anybody has received love, so Scarsdale is just another example of, for some reason, because of my beginnings, there's something that I'm sending. I didn't even know for a long time that other people knew what I needed. I wasn't even aware of that. You know, I didn't even know what I needed, but they knew. So, dude, I got so much love from the community that the brownness of me, that I literally, and this is not necessarily a bad thing, I really ceased to see myself in terms of brownness, because by that time I was a famous model. So that any relationship to what was external, people seem to be enjoying it. They'll pay me for that shit, you know. So I think what happened was the students and I began to live. What we were sharing was what was inside of both of us and all of us. I was sharing what was in here, and so were they. And I was trying to share what was in here, but in order to do that, they had to become student teachers, and I had to become a teacher student. Do you hear me, Jordan? So I think the big move for me in Scarsdale with regard to this race and all of this was when I realized if I became a teacher student, man, the sky was the limit. These folks will teach me everything that they know. And I could teach it to the next group of young cats. I could connect with their little brothers and sisters because I really knew them. This was not some sort of superficial connection, you know. Yeah. I mean, so, and then their parents. Their parents would give me this mysterious form of genuine love. Do you hear me? And initially I thought, oh, you're just loving me up because I'm loving your child. And that clearly had to be part of the ingredients. But it was separate as well. You know, it was adult to adult. So it was more than just teaching at that school. It was learning at that school. They should have given me, I should have been graduated every year with this cat. Where's my diploma? Where's my, I'm just, you know, here, man, you know, I did the work. So.
And this is an impossibly large question to answer, but okay. What did you learn?
Ooh. Here's what I mean. It may be impossibly large, but the importance is quite prescribed. I learned that most people are willing to talk about that which they know nothing. They're willing, and other opinions. This is the first time you asked.
No.
Opinion. I mean, it's so relevant considering what we're dealing with now. So that you don't have to know shit in order to talk shit. You know what I mean? A lot of cats talking shit because they don't know shit. They're just like flowing, like let me flow here, you know? Okay. And I learned, and so I was on guard. I didn't want to be that cat. I didn't want to be the cat who was just talking shit. So it made me think, okay, what I learned is, don't be afraid to read more, even if the facts conflict with your opinions. You've had opinions so long, Rashid, that you're passing that shit off as truth. You're passing this shit off as this actually happened. Okay? I said, keep reading, because good for you if you find some shit that's congruent with what you're feeling, but keep reading. And I learned to say in a clear voice, boy, I don't know. Growing up where I grew up, it was dangerous. You always had to act like you were on top of your game. You had to act like you could fight. You were smart. A lot of the shit was just like, sticking your chest out so cats wouldn't mess with, creating a force field. But I thought, if you really want to have some force in your field, you can't plant make-believe seeds. You can't just be out there doing this shit. There are no seeds, but you're just, you're just throwing make. No, man, go out there. So I learned to say, I don't know, with a certain type of pride, not mumble it. Say it in such a way that they would believe whatever little bit you did know.
Mm-hmm. Right. Gives credibility to what you do.
That's what I'm trying, Jordan. That's what I'm trying to say. That's exactly what, if you are willing to go, and then it amps up these students. Said, oh man, well, let me go find that shit out. I'll know more than you know.
Right.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But then you can't keep that shit to yourself. You need to park that shit in here and let the door, open the doors. Let us drive your car. So we can, let us drive around in your newly found intelligence. And oftentimes I would talk like that to them. Not always. Yeah. So I learned that getting an adult's trust, you can trick adults, or you can pay them, or you can somehow orient them into trust. But if you want to get a child's trust or an animal's trust, you better come with the right shit, because they will sniff that shit out in an instant. Okay, so I guess I learned to peel, to peel off, and rather than feel vulnerable, I felt accessible. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. All right. So I'm at the same, dude. You in the boogie down? You in the BX? Shit. I mean, you a white dude. I'm Jordan up in Scarsdale. You Rashid down in the boogie down. I'm just saying. So, hey. But I also learned that if I could, in context, share with my friends any of what was going on in Scarsdale, because I used to hear, Scarsdale. I said, man, you got to pump the brakes on that shit, man, because you don't know. You just talking shit. You don't know. You have no idea. I said, what am I, the exception to the rule? I'm up in this mug. Shit, you think I can be here flowing and going if the shit was, Memorex? The shit was, shit's real. These people are good. They're like any other measures of good, bad, the demographic.
Yeah.
No matter where you. I'm just saying. I mean, I took care of monkeys in the Amazon. Dr. Ken Kensinger, who's a famous guy, ended up teaching at Bennington, and he sent me down there to deal with monkeys. Even in that monkey community, they're hustlers. Yeah. The cats who don't want to work, they want a game. The cats fucking bullies. They're bullied. They're little children whose parents don't know where they are all day. These are motherfuckers I'm taking care of. Okay, down here with these monkeys. 7 months. That's a whole other. But you could go to Ken Kensinger. Okay, a famous anthropologist. But I was down there dealing with anthropology and theological perspective, which is how I ended up at the Harvard Divinity School.
Oh, okay.
Living in the goddamn jungle with the Jaguar and Kashinai, and hanging and taking care of these damn You think I'm joking? I have monkeys. The totem. I have little silver monkeys that I give out to people just to keep them. It's like my good luck. I'm gonna give you one. Little silver monkeys. Just anyway. Suffice it to say, that is what I learned. Also, not unlike you, curious, man, and I'm a reader, and I'm doing a lot of talking, but both of us are listeners as well. So I think that when a student-centered class is when learning is really going on. It can't be the teacher talking at.
Right.
Okay, so that's what I learned.
Yeah.
If that is,
We'll have to see how they're. I mean, again, this is an aside, but three kids going back to school this week. How do you do a student-centered class over remote learning and all that?
Jody, remember I told you I would always say what I don't know?
Yeah.
I think the game has passed me by. I think the game is, I don't know that magic, some of these cats could get out there now on the court. I don't know that Jim Brown, I don't know that Paul Warfield, I don't know the Wyatt Tittle, I don't know that Bob Green. Hey man, the game is sped up. Yeah. Do you hear me? The game, you know the game because you're in the game. But, hey man, in my day, if a child was on a computer, they were taking a shortcut.
Right.
It wasn't read the fucking book. Right.
I'm
gonna get the audio. I'm gonna get the audio book, right? Motherfucker, you better pick up his goddamn glasses and go read that fucking book. Let's read it together. Type of the game, Jordan. Game is so. There'll be lots of cats who would have retired later to get that extra dollars and cents, who the game has also passed them by. Yeah. But now they know the game because if it's at home, if it's computer centered, see, for a lot of these children, they can work. They know the lay of the land. Right. They may not get what real time can give you.
Yeah.
But if the teacher is creative, the teacher, you know what I'm saying, can take it, it may not, can match, can give them a sense of curiosity, which will eventually intoxicate them and perhaps not see it as getting less than, but more of an opportunity to get more than. I'm just convinced that it's never going to be the same again, Jordan. This is, and maybe it shouldn't be. However, I don't know how the college admissions people, I don't know what's going to happen to college admission. What's going to happen to those interviews? What's going to happen to Brown? By the way, I'm a member of the Hope Club. I don't know if you know the Hope Club. It's on. I love Brown. I literally love, and it's because of Fritz Pollard. Fritz Pollard was a football player, played at Brown way back in probably the 30s, first African-American, one of the first to play at Ivy League school. Anyway, suffice it to say, I just don't know how college, how will colleges now vet what will they expect these folks to have in terms of interpersonal skills? Or will that not even be a box to check?
I don't know. In some ways I feel like, you can't fight progress, you got to accept it. But in other ways, my take on this whole thing is humans evolved a certain way. And you can't unwind that in a decade. We evolved to have in-person, our brains light up when we have in-person connection with other people. And in 3D, for physical touch, for all of those things. We're not rewiring our brains and our DNA within a generation.
I agree. I don't even want to say however. So what will the pushback or the push through, some of us may have to push through it to get back that essential character, commodity, the content of who we are. Wearing masks, distancing.
Yeah.
I would hate to think that that's all there is. But, you know, George Orwell, some of these cats were talking to us about how the shit would look in their mind.
Right.
If it went south, you know, and the cherry on top of the whole fucking pie is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He doesn't read. He doesn't listen.
He doesn't have friends.
He doesn't have, I mean, he doesn't have friends. That's a key. That friendship is a key freaking, he can grab him by the pussy. That's what he can do. By his own admission, and he can make fun of handicapped people. His own words, he could kill somebody on Fifth Avenue. These are things that you are proud of? I mean, holy shit. No wonder but these are the things. I mean, what, suckers and losers? Now it referred to, it's just that I think that this is a test. And I understand more than I should why some of these folks and these conspiracy types and these other cats, some of these people have never been a member of the right group all their lives. Yeah. They never celebrated the birth of their child because they thought the child could become more than they were. You know, so now these cats, they could be a member of a club.
Yeah. The
same club, Donald Trump wouldn't let these cats put one pinky down in Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. I mean, these motherfuckers, he would tell them that Palm Beach was in Nevada before he would tell them where it really was. Anyway.
It's sad. I mean,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go off on that.
Where do you find somebody like him? Like, if you gave me millions of dollars and unlimited hours, I don't know where I could find a sociopath.
And neither.
In the toughest prisons, I would not be able to find a sociopath.
Or that, and by the way, oh my God, you just put goosebumps on my arm. That is where I would probably go. I can't believe you just said that. Look. I would probably have to go to the toughest fucking prisons. No friends, sociopath, pathological liar. That's what Soledad. I don't even know Soledad. The tombs. That's where. So I'm just thinking, this has got to be a test. So I went out and bought a lot of stuff with American flags on it. I bought some Stubbs and Wooten pumps. I could let the people know, no, man. This is our country.
Yeah.
You're not going to co-opt this. You're not going to make me feel every time I see a fucking flag. It's like it's a SWAT sticker. No, you're not going to do that shit to me. I mean, it's already been done, somewhere else. So
somebody said when I see somebody with an American flag in their Facebook profile, I assume they're a racist. What does that mean? That the American flag stands for, overtly stands for racism?
Jordan, again, look at the Jesus Christ, Jordan. That's the assumption. If I looked out of I can look off my terrace and, there's a whole community there. I face west. Sometimes I just keep my eyes, sort of sky level so I can see the sunset every evening. But there are 3 people who have American flags flying. And the other night I thought, shit, I better not, I'm finding where that street is because I really don't need to be get lost in my own neighborhood and end up down that street. Jordan, how can I think they're Jesus Christ. I mean, if we're in a restaurant, we see someone with a T-shirt, it's like, oh shit, man. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to, what are you trying to say to me?
If you went back to Eisenhower, or somebody fought in World War II, that flag that you have everywhere? That means 50 years that's racism.
Man, talk about twisting and turning. Twisted in the grave? If you would, that would be so unfair. Twisted and turning. And the Confederate, by the way, graphically, I think that's a very handsome. I like the colors of the. Now, I mean, I'm sharing this with you. I mean, graphically, I think. I wish that could be our flag. I mean, I'm just saying, it was just but man, it's this. Now that flag is even a softer. If I saw someone with a Confederate flag, I would think, oh, you're a biker, or or you know, whatever. I wouldn't think you were necessarily a racist. But if you put a American flag.
That's really something. The Confederate fans like, all right, Southern pride.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
All right,
Southern pride, right?
Yeah, oh. I guess that's a positive thing.
Oh God, I'm sorry. Oh man. So anyway, getting if I can. I'm sorry to take you so far afield, but the whole notion of 2 nights ago, I had a dinner with Mark Colburn, an Australian guy who came to go to Scarsdale. He's at Cornell. His girlfriend is mixed of this and that. She's at Cornell. And we had dinner in Bronxville. And I realized, man, I'm really still connected to these cats. I'm really Tommy Mercine. Some of these cats I'm still, and in a very organic way. I spent my 50th birthday party in Ibiza. Scott Resnick said, come in, man, let me take you to Ibiza. For your 50th birthday. Yeah. And he was no longer he'd gone to Northwestern. He was a grown man, since, and we just hung out. And I don't even think, I was like, oh, you're my student doing,
right.
We were just, so I got 4. And you have not seen the last of those little people with whom you shared fellowship. These cats are going to show up.
I know.
Some of them, with this internet age, they can find out where you live.
I'll post videos, sometimes music.
That's what I'm saying.
And they'll comment, hi, Mr. Copeland, it's me, Adrian.
That's what I'm saying.
Adrian, how's middle school?
Hey, man, doesn't get any. And this is one of the biggest things I found out, that teaching at the high school, it wasn't that I was getting them too late. It was just that if I really wanted to be an educator, the sooner I could start elementary school. Do you hear me? Because that's where that's where the clay, it's still wet. It's still wet. Do you know what I'm saying, Jordan?
Absolutely.
And that is one of the biggest, because for me, it took me back to when my clay was wet. And I had one Brown teacher, and her name was Mrs. Brown. Okay, you can't make, and coming up, meanest bitch you could possibly find. Back in those days, my grandparents, who were Jamaican, and they're right over here. My grandfather was a famous teacher in Jamaica. Okay, this is 1916. He comes here, he has to become a custodian.
Oh my God.
I didn't even know. He becomes a custodian of the National Casket Company, which is right across from the Harvard Club of Boston. I wish I'm a member. You can't even make that shit up. I can look out the big window of Commonwealth Room and see the National Casket Company. Okay, now I say all that to say, I came from, on that side, a family of teachers. So I probably should have known how important it was that most children know what they know through their parents at that age.
Yeah.
They're either copying their parents or listening. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When they get to school, what an opportunity, because they have more empty space than full space. What an opportunity. I had a teacher, Ms. Brown, who basically one day called me in front of the class. Must have been 3rd grade. I did Ms. Bowen in 2nd grade. Must have been 3rd grade. Calls me in front of the class, and she said, now turn around. My grandmother used to patch my pants. They didn't believe in necessarily buying new clothing. If you could now in prep school, everybody was ripping their shit up.
Okay. Old money.
I mean, I've been ripping this shit. Buy it brand new, cutting it, ripping it. Okay. But she told me to turn around and she said, your new name is Patch in the Pants. And the class laughed.
Oh my God.
What they didn't know is I was crying. I was not facing them. And I stood there long enough. She says, you can go back to your chair now, you go back. And I wouldn't go back until I was trying to wipe the tears away. And so the irony is that I would become this model with, this thing. But I thought, man, you mean bitch. I mean, I didn't even think that then. I wasn't I was hurt, but I'm not even sure I blamed her. I was so hurt. And I almost blamed, why did you patch my pants? It was one of those things where you blame the wrong people. So what I'm saying, what I learned is, man, the earlier you can be involved. But you can't be the wrong cat, though.
Yeah.
If you may have taught with colleagues who you thought, who, what I mean? So, and by the way, if you write down the name Bertha Gordon. Bertha Gordon was the first, I think, woman principal of a school in the Bronx. This is back in the Bertha Gordon. By marriage, she was married to Carlton Gordon, my grandmother's nephew. Okay, who she saved in Jamaica, whatever. But they lived up in White Plains. Bertha Gordon is a picture of, hold on. She was descendant of slaves, of freed slaves. She becomes, and then she, I think, becomes the one of the higher ups in all of this. Okay, and this is, I put this black principal name, first Negro principal in the Bronx. And then there's that Morris High. It's a very beautiful school. You can see it from the train.
Mm-hmm.
That was her, and I took care of her I took care of the husband, Carlton, who my grandmother had saved in Jamaica. He was born out of wedlock. And my grandmother went in a carriage to where he's a little boy, and told these people, this is my family. And she took him, well, a picture of my grandmother on the wall. She took him and helped raise him. He comes to America, becomes Zulala. He eventually buys a house in White Plains, and he marries Bertha, who is this little black, fireball, just out of slave, great grandfather slave, education. He loved, so as they were dying, they were in the Sprainbrook nursing home. I took care of these cats. One passed away than the other. Point being, Bertha could never understand how I could be a model and a teacher. She wasn't having it. She was, it's either one or the other.
Right.
And the modeling shit is old school. Old school. Old school is like, dude, you don't do two things at once. It's like,
right,
Bertha, it can be done. Anyway.
So I got a question that just came up to me. So I'm bringing it back into the classroom. So when you had a student of color, do you think because you mentioned, even though she wasn't great, you mentioned the only teacher of color you had. So put it, when you're the only faculty member, you get one teacher of color come through. How do you think that relationship from their perspective looked, or from your perspective?
Okay. Now, do you want me to mention names with names, people with names? Okay.
I mean,
the head of Estee Lauder right now is a black woman named Tracy Travis.
Okay.
She has 2 children. She has a wonderful husband, Richard, from Oklahoma, Native American, African American mix. They moved to Scarsdale because they can. Because they know in their little ascent, that's the move. I'm just using them. I'm not going to Earl Graves or anybody, I'm going to them. Okay. They have 2 daughters. Now, people, black people, and probably everybody, you have to, you have almost special care with daughters. You know, you don't, you have to be, who's in your daughter's ear? Who are friends? I mean, you do that with everything, but there must be, for me at least, there's a extra spot. I always felt I was a little bit of a protector. Okay, so go to class one day, and there's a black girl sitting in class. She's sitting right up front. And Jordan, I don't know, it all of a sudden came to me that, that all of the black students, the brown students that I had had at Scarsdale High School would come into class and always sit up front. In other words, once again, I get the look of the, you know, they weren't hiding. They wanted me, they wanted, is there one damn thing they're going to do? They're going to say, connect with me. Oh God, here we go again with, I'm such an autonomic, you know, I mean, I'm such a dead giveaway. You know, in my head, shit, I couldn't last 5 seconds in a lying contest. You know, my head. So it wasn't till age, and this is, I mean, I guess she went to, where she go? University of Chicago. She's still, I had been at Scarsdale 20 some odd years before I had realized that all these cats had been sitting up front. And I attribute that to their parents a great deal. Because parents can sometimes tell you, or can suggest that you don't want to be invisible here. You don't want to go Ralph Ellison here. You don't want to give that shit any more, Invisible Man, any more fuel. In other words, this cat, go get it.
Yeah.
He's not there by mistake. Go get it. And they actually, and I was almost proud of myself that I didn't realize that. Because for me, my eyes always went to the last cat sitting, the cat hiding. Do you know what I mean? Jordan, I always, the cat waiting. He said if he could be on the outside the window, the cat hiding. And I'm very peripatetic, and I would walk. I would eventually configure shit so that I could get to cats. So man, you can sit up there if you want to. But I'm gonna be up there in a second. I'm gonna be up there sitting on your desk talking to you.
Awesome.
So, I think that having the opportunity to be peripatetic, having that moving the classroom, moving their eyes. You know what I'm saying, Jordan? Just because I'm convinced if they're moving their eyes, their heads will go along with it. Because you can't be doing this shit all, and that. So coming back to it, I realized that they had given me the benefit of the doubt, and it didn't have to be that way. Because any brown child that I had in the class, if they had given the signal of fuck this cat, other cats may have fucked. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're young cats.
Right.
And I went through several stages. I was there before hip hop. I went through several stages of how brown cats were perceived superficially. Are you looking for the cool? Do you want to talk like that? Do you want to be like that? Do you want to dress like that? For the longest while I was there, brown cats, I guess, were trying to be as preppy or as proper as possible. Then the pants got loose. I will tell you one story. One day, a white dude walked in, this cat with whom I happen to be very, very close to this day. Smart cat, athlete, Jewish brother. Okay. Left-handed point guard, nasty. His brother's just nasty. He comes in one day, and he almost didn't give a fuck about what other people thought about and his pants are down. I don't know what rapper he was. He was showing more of his underpants.
Right.
And I didn't do this in public. After class, it may not have even been the same day. I pulled him aside And I said, hey, man, after a good, it must have been something very positive that happened to him, because I wanted the positive to be able to, because I was going to push him. I was going to push him off a cliff. I didn't want him to land, something soft.
Yeah.
Right? I get ready to push this motherfucker off. I said, man, you know what buck breaking is? And it was a rhetorical question. I knew he didn't know what the fuck. Okay. I said, let me tell you something, man. The baddest slaves, what these slave owners would do, they would get the baddest cats and they would rape them. They would anally rape them. The cats they thought were going to be the most trouble as they were coming up. Okay, as they would come, they could see this cat's going to be big, this cat could be trouble. They would anally rape them, and then you would wear your pants down so that when you went from plantation, they would know you had already been broken. It's called buck breaking. They would know that you had already been broken. So you see a cat so all these bangers they don't even know where that shit come from.
God.
It's called, just look it up, called buck breaking. Okay? And this motherfucker never wore, shit, he had his pants up here. It looked like he was, man, all the fucking wears it, man. You got a tie underneath those pants. So it was just, it's my job to give people an opportunity to make a choice. It's our job, Jordan. That's you know what I mean?
Yes.
Just give these cats an opportunity to make. A lot of these cats don't have a choice, if you know what I mean, or they don't think they have a choice. So Todd, this cat, and I'm telling you, this cat, he didn't say much. This cat was so cool. He didn't even know all these girls were loving his ass. He didn't say much. You know, he just chill. He happened to be a white, blonde, Jewish gangbanger who was a point guard on the basketball, taking it to these cats at New Rochelle, at Mount Vernon, just schooling these cats. And because he played with them in the summer league, they treated him like a brother.
Yeah.
He just happened to live in Scarsdale.
Right.
But he was dressing like he lived in Mount Vernon. Until I told him about that buck breaking shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah, that will get through. Right. I'm sorry, man, but
when you had a student of color, do you think you either consciously or subconsciously treated them in any different way, given that they needed something?
Probably both consciously and subconsciously, Jordan. If I'm going to be honest with myself,
right?
Especially if I saw they were a discouraged learner. You know, they were in Scarsdale because their parents had made that cake and had made that sacrifice, but the children weren't all in. You know, some children were mad that they were the only brown person that they didn't, you know. So in that case, if I could very consciously, I would try, to admit them to a fellowship, because I knew who the cool cats were, who could, if the brown cat would only let this person be his or her friend, both these cats were sore, you know. So I knew who those cats were. But yeah, it didn't happen. It happened enough. It happened enough, and it happened with some people who you may not have thought. I want to mention names, but brown folks who were conspicuously wealthy, living in the biggest house, but somehow their children were missing people. You know, they could have been on the missing persons. They were missing persons. They were so focused on heading that way, they didn't realize that the children, in order to get to a child, you need to go this way. You need to go where they are. At least give them the opportunity to know that you care.
Yeah.
You know, because it can't always be, look what I've done. I live in the biggest house. How can you doubt that I love you? Well, it may not be exactly the indication. Dad, I'm not as dumb as I look. You know, I mean, you got a big house, you got all this shit. We be flying off this and that, and that is the indicator. That's the proof, huh? I never had a conversation with your ass. You know, I'm still looking for my first hug. You know what I mean? But anyway, Jordan. So the answer to your question is yes, Jordan, consciously, and I think that in my conscious attempt, I think the rest of the cats in the class, they got it. You know, it wasn't like I was hiding, not that I would have been able to hide it from them. Cats are smart, man. They get it. You know what I mean? Cats pick that shit up in an instant.
They pick up what you're doing even if you don't know you're doing it.
Even if you don't, they see you when you first pull up. They see that you don't even have the fucking car yet. Oh, here you come now. You know, so I'm just saying, that's part of the love that we exchanged and why I was able to identify other students and coaches who were doing the same thing and try to help the young teachers who were just coming in, to, you know, without telling them what to do, just sort of, you know, spending time with them in the teacher's room, talking about everything else but the class, but really talking about the class. You know what I'm saying, Jordan? But really talking about, you know,
So at some point, did you take over Eric Rothschild's black?
Eric Rothschild, literally. I mean, if anybody, you know, I guess, and the rabbi, I mean, when I got married, I wanted him. I had my cats holding the hoop up, right? But if I got, like I said, I got married before I got to Scarsdale and divorced before I got to Scarsdale. But the only thing, he'd have been one of those cats.
Yeah.
he'd have been standing up for me. That's how I feel about him, because he stood up. He gave me a course, race and ethnicity.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I was not going to be an easy course to teach. And of course, people have to sign up for these courses.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't have a course if 3 people are signing up. The course doesn't exist. And cats were buying Eric Rothschild. Anything he was teaching, if he was teaching toothbrushing, you how to brush your teeth with your eyes closed, shit, you know, they have to close it. Everybody would sign up for it. And he gave me the opportunity, with his blessing, to create enough credibility to be able to take over a class and let it, the way he positioned me was, okay, now you're gonna get, there's some hot sauce. You know, I put some I got a nice meal here. Only thing I don't use, Eric would say, is I don't use hot sauce. But this brother over here, I'm just speaking metaphorically, right. He can spice it up a bit, right. Without saying that. He gave me the same way he did was take it away, dragging me to that AP European, telling me like, so he gave me the opportunity to feel as though I had something special. No one was going to be Eric Rothschild.
Yeah.
Or Werner Feig. These cats were God, in my eyes, these cats were gods. Although Werner did shit in his class that you can't do now. You would teach con law and whatnot. He would say to a Chinese person, did you bring my laundry today? You know, he would say shit. I'm just saying, he was breaking it. I'm just telling you what Werner was doing.
Yeah.
Werner, in Werner's head, and don't forget, Crystal Knock, Shanghai, internment camp. I mean, he had been through some shit. Okay, this is not a cat, okay? I'm just saying. He thought he would say to a Jewish cat, hey man, what did you cut your tallis last night? You got a haircut. You better paste that shit back on. You know, he would say shit. Where's the Italian dude? Where's my sauce? You know, it's lunchtime. He was making them be almost imperfect. Some shit may come down. People may come down the road at you with this vituperative invective. You know, get that thick skin. You know, fuck that. I've been, you know, I'm supposed to have your laundry. You know, so. But I'm just saying, he wouldn't have been able to do that in this world. But he would, people, con law, they love, and these cats are in the same office. And these cats are my rabbis. These are my rabbis. These cats, I mean, so I would have had to have been a complete asshole in order not, you know, and I wanted to make them proud of me, Jordan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wanted those cats to be proud of me. To say, this cat, I have all the right shit on paper, but paper is like very thin. You know what I mean? You have, even the best diploma is still paper thin. So that's all you work. That shit. If you're holding that shit up, someone could just do this. They could just. They could just. So I wanted them to know that. Anyway, I haven't talked about this in a while. As you can tell. As you can tell. But suffice it to say that I was able to get what I would call quiet respect. I didn't have anybody patting me on my shoulder every day, telling me what a good job I was doing, because that shit's a little, and that means you maybe not doing it. You did a good job one day. Like, oh, today you are, so quiet respect. It was, Cass, just like, you're in the mix now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, look, that's also teaching. I mean, the best things I've done, no other adult ever saw them.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
How freaking crazy. The only thing that you know is that they got it.
Yeah. Yeah,
the
right.
Student, that's the proof. And the proof is it made you feel like, oh, shit.
I guess in some ways it's interesting because it's pure, right? So like the highest form of giving, in Jewish culture is giving anonymously. Nobody knows you did it.
Oh my, I can't believe you. Okay. My ex-wife is back in my life. We see one another, we talk a lot. And she said, what would make you the happiest? And I said, what would make me the happiest? A lot of the cats I grew up with, I would like to be able to send them a big checks. But no one, I would say, the money would just, I would find out who needed that shit the most.
Yeah.
I would send it and I would say, no. She said, don't you? I said, no. You asked me what would make me happy. You asked me what would make me, no, they don't know. It's not me. See, but not everybody gets that, Jody. Because most people, they haven't even given the money yet, and they're doing this. They haven't even put. You change the name of that building. Here is 15 million. Could you change the name of that check? Put my name on it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So I should try to tell that to the children, to my students, because they were old enough to at least, some little humans are already doing it.
Yeah.
Little cats are already doing it, man. And just don't let that get out of your system. Don't let that get out of your system, because they don't want to embarrass their friends. They want to make them feel included, but they don't want to embarrass them. So it's like some cat going and hey man, I have so many of these sneakers. Yes. Or somebody come to someone's house and they said, man, those are some great sneakers. I said, dude, you want those? Because I have how cool, you know what I mean? And they do it in such a way. You hear me, Jordan? Yeah, take them, man. They make believe that.
We would do that with, the New York Roadrunners would have some thing, and they'd give us like a bunch of shirts and a nice backpack. And I would randomly pick out a kid to get the backpack who I knew had a trash backpack. Because they can't be showing face. Yeah, I noticed your backpack is trashed or whatever. I'm not gonna, so it's totally.
But we need to plant more of those seeds. My fear with what's going on now is that a lot of young children are thinking this is the way to get to the top, the way this cat is acting. Trump is, anyway. Yeah, man, that what you just said, it just so happened that Alva said, what would make you happy? And you said something earlier about your son, which I thought was fascinating. He said, no matter where he goes, he's going to be all right. Man, that parenting is probably the hardest job that I know. That's the hardest job that I know. It exists, okay. And if parents could say that about their child, you're not meaning to give yourself credit.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to feel that about your child, you would have to take some credit for that shit. I mean, it's the last thing that you are sending. It's the last thing you are actually saying, because you planted the seed. This is the fruit of the root.
Yeah.
That he's just the fruit of the root. So that's so cute the way you said that, Rashid. No matter where he goes, it's gonna be all right. And if you could ever teach them, which is not that easy, to not overreact to peer pressure.
Yeah.
Because that is where a lot of cats, where I went down the wrong road. You just. Anyway, go ahead, man.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's a riot. I mean, he would. I bet he would wear like lime green Crocs to school. Crocs. He'd wear them to school. Scarsdale.
They're over there. Yeah. And they might be lime green. Now they come to think of it. Oh, dude, and that would be. That's a confident cat.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I think it's also a little bit of oblivious that he doesn't notice the girl with the sheepskin boots and the guy with the fresh sneakers. He doesn't even. I don't know if he sees that, but he's wonderful to be with. He's kind.
Well, see, once again, you said to me, that's one of my most important four-letter words. Okay, kind.
Yeah.
Man, Jordan. The same way you said it about your son, that's the way I feel it about most of the students that I taught in those 4 decades. Mm. Almost everyone, by the time we had left one another, we had made each other more kind. And I think that type of empathy really has to be grounded in certain type of authentic, secure self-awareness.
Yeah.
That to be kind doesn't take anything away from you. Sometimes people think if I give somebody, like if I give the benefit of the doubt, somehow that diminishes. Oh man,
Yeah.
Kind, man. That to me, when you get a person who's kind,
yeah, that's it.
Oh, that's really a prince, or a form of majesty to me.
I almost feel like you taught in such a golden era.
Yeah.
A golden place and a golden era. We got in the city so hyper-focused on the Common Core and the standards and things like that. Kindness doesn't appear in the standards. Resilience doesn't appear in the standards. It's about, can you infer this and can you do that? And, my proudest things as a teacher, maybe even my proudest student, one student who was very, very emotionally disturbed, bite his own arm, do things like that. And it took years off my life, and I'm good with that. But I know I gave him the best school year of his life. I showed him I loved him, and I connected with him in a way that was like, and he wrote me a letter afterwards. And if I don't hear from him, I wouldn't, that's
I got you, George. I got you
too. But it was like every day when I came home, I would say, oh, when he did this, my tone should have been a little softer.
Yeah, but you know what? That year, that time together, that was the seed. I'd be damned if that will not grow through cement, through concrete, through the rest of the shit that he'll have to deal with. And like you said, he wrote you a letter, which I doubt whether he had ever written any other teacher. I'm just saying, so that he remembers that he wrote that. And when you write something, there's a little bit more of yourself you put in. You know what I'm trying to say? You put into it. So, man, he also reinforced the feeling of making a difference.
Yeah.
Because a year is a long time. A day is a long time for some people. A day in a life. But man, if you could, you just you need to go back into you need to create more Jordans. You need to get some more Copelands. You need to go back. You need to go back. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I have a younger sister and an older brother, but my younger sister, actually, she's an author. She's written for the Washington Post, and she just wrote a book about DNA, discovering your roots, and all these people that go back. They take a DNA test, like on a lark. Here's a Christmas gift. Here's a DNA test. Get it back. Get it back. My dad's not my dad.
Thank you. Oh my God. That's perfect. That's perfect. You just remember that, just the way you said it. Here's a Christmas, here's a Hanukkah. Here, like, hey, yeah, here's a gift. You get it.
Yeah. So
my dad's not my dad. Oh God, Jordan.
It's a little bit like we talked about earlier. The technology goes faster than the social.
Oh God.
No one's prepared to read your dad's not your dad. Your brother's not your brother.
I mean, it's a lot of this is nervous laughter because I know that it's happening. I mean, and oh God.
There's even a name for it. I think it was called like a non-paternal event. They call it something like that.
Stop.
Because it happens enough that it has its own jargon.
Oh God. A non-paternal event. I mean, that sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, and all this, like I said, no good deed, goes unpunished. All this, like, here, honey, here's a DNA package or kit or whatever they're calling it. Oh, what's it? A non? You think it might be a non-paternal?
I think it's a non-paternal event. It's something like that, But and Ancestry.com and 23andMe know that 1 out of every whatever people, 1 out of every 25 people who send this thing in are going to get back a non-paternity event, whether they're looking for it or not.
Now, just the other day, there was a woman who was called to task. She's a somewhat of a renown in whatever field. And she had been telling people all these years that she was Black. Okay.
Yes, I saw her, yeah.
Yeah, she'd been telling. And then one of her relatives out there said she's as white. Leave it to your family. She said, Black? She's as white, and she'd been all through college, all through. She's teaching a course.
Right.
In some fancy school, somewhere in Bowdoin or in some ooh la la. Oh man, I thought
she spoke up at some community board meeting or something like that, saying, "All you white people, we've been waiting. Why don't you cede your time to the people of color who've been waiting? Because this is our issue."
Jordan, you cannot make that shit up. Man, there was no telling her she wasn't Black.
No.
She was all in.
It did something for her that she needed.
Yeah. Oh, Jordan, exactly. And she didn't waste it. She didn't she didn't go to the liquor store and just she wasn't sitting out there high, hoeing. She wasn't some liquor store hoe. She was out there killing it. I'm a Black woman. I'm like, respect me, respect my space. Oh God, Jordan. Oh, Jesus Christ. And the rest of you Black people need to get up off you need to grab a gun. Shit. I'm thinking, man.
Oh, you know what? It was a good run. She made the most of that run.
She had a good run.
She'll be on the internet forever, but it was a good 20 years or whatever.
Nicely put, she had a good run. She had a good run, and she's she's not an old person, but I don't know what she's gonna do. She could become like Korean or some other shit. She could,
Yeah.
But I don't know where she's going from here. But she had a good run. It's a shame that all those diplomas and all that shit will now be suspect. She's not gonna be a member of the Black history makers. They have to scrub those tapes.
If history's any guide, she'll write a book about being a con artist and try to ride that for a little while. Maybe she'll get a movie out of it. It'd be I'd probably watch that movie.
You had to wait till I took a sip before. Oh yeah, man, she get a movie. Yeah, And you know, and I know, no one, I mean, she could, any part of her life might have been a good movie, you know, a good hour and a half worth of guess what's coming next. Because I mean, and you know, and I know, you can't always, well, black folks claim that they can, no matter how white you are, black folks know whether or not you got some flow in you, you know. And, but, and I think I know, you know, I think I can tell, I can, because, you know, but the thing is, it's not whether you can identify it, it's how they're dealing with it. You know, like there is some, you know, I have a half brother. And if you saw his ass, he looks like you. He's just a handsome white boy. You know, he's that, you know, but we have the same mother. Okay. And she was a brown, who was outside being crazy and fucking bad. She's a beautiful brown woman. Okay. Now, when she was driving him around Brighton, Mass, or around Newton in a carriage, folks thought that she was the au pair or the nanny driving around. And if I was walking, I'm 5 years older, if I was walking with her, she said, oh, there's the nanny with her child. They've allowed her to bring her child to work while she perambulates, you know, with it. Man. And tell you the truth, if I didn't know he was my brother, I might, you know, I need to peel that back. I said I could always tell. Maybe not with him. Maybe not. Right. Maybe not. Maybe not. But when I got married, he wasn't one of the cats. Holding the hookah. I had a Sikh, Satpal Sani Singh. Should have been my brother, but we're not, you know, we're not particularly close. Anyway, I mean, you know, relative. Okay. I'm not certain that I mean what I'm about to say, but I have to say, I want you to hear it. I'm not so sure that being related by blood ties you any closer than a stranger you have found profound with whom you have found profound in commonness. You meet a stranger from whatever background, you guys just freaking connect. You may share more and care more about what happens to that person. Yeah. I'm not saying if you ever got a chance to say either life or death, one of them has to go. It's a hell of a, you know. But in my life, my relations have been by association. You know, I mean, so when I talk about extended family, that shit means, that means what real family might mean. What real, you know, what blood family, but that DNA thing that you told me. What is it? Give me again. Event. What is event? It is a what event?
Non-paternal event or non.
I'm sorry. It's just
paternity or non-paternal event.
It's just that I have, and we have, or maybe I'm 40 years older than you, so I know cats you found later in life. That wasn't, you know, mom and dad were mom and dad, you know, and never a word was spoken, you know, about the boyfriend who hit mommy one night when dad was working, you know, was shoveling shit, and his best friend came by. And you always say, I feel so close to Uncle Harry. We look, you know, Uncle Harry, God, I feel so close to him. We sort of look alike. Yeah, go Uncle Harry, it's your fucking father. Anyway, I'm just saying, you know, non-paternal event. And by the way, man, that's why I said, just treat people. My thing is, man, my students used to say that Rashid is where bad news goes to die. And that I always wanted to be that cat. Don't be afraid to tell me the worst shit that you're thinking or do, and it's happened to you. But after that, we're not going to give it any more oxygen. You know,
Right.
we just let it would take its last breath in here, and then we just go on. You know, silver lining. They used to call it a Silvera lining. I didn't know it's a silver lining. I said, no, it's a silver. I said, no, it's a silver lining. I can't take it.
Is there anyone who can do that for you, or you can just do that for yourself?
Ooh. Well, Mary Pitt did it for me, like the brown woman who was like my queen at Scarsdale High School. She did it. My Aunt Edna, my aunts did it for me. Different people, sometimes strangers, do it for me. Okay, the other day I was on Facebook the other day. I'm so rare, I call it the other day. And there was a film of a little boy eating his first Oreo cookie. He was just a little boy, right? And his parent, he was eating it, a complete mess. He's just literally complete. He was just eating. It was all. Oh, he was just. But insouciant. He was just like the mess. It was like oblivious. He was just like. And then the center. Oh, he got to that white part, and his eyes. Like, whoa, this is some shit here. And he was just. And at the end, he was just looking. And I think what it must have happened, his parents must have said, "Did you like that? Did you enjoy that?" And he just. He didn't say it, he just, his face lit up. And that did more for, the innocence of letting your senses tell you the truth. So for me, I try to let my senses tell me the truth. Some people say, well, if people are telling you who they are in a negative sense, believe them. Yeah, I said, yeah, but still look for the kernel. It's easy to find the bad shit. Look, man, look for the redeeming, piece of any freaking story. Grow that. Yeah. Do you know that the Cherokee? There's a whole Cherokee thing about there's a grandfather, a little boy, and the little boy is asking about life, and the grandfather says, "Well, life. There are two wolves. There's one wolf that's greedy and mean and nasty and lying and bad and hurtful, and the other wolf is tender and sensitive and good and understanding." And the little boy says, "Well." He says, there's a battle. He said, well, the little boy says, well, who wins the battle? And the grandfather says, the one that you feed. The wolf that you feed. So feed the tenderness. Feed.
Yeah.
The one that you feed. That makes a lot of sense to me. Because if you feed the other wolf, you get stronger. And his appetite is carnivorous to begin with. His appetite, he'll eat everyone in sight.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like that stuff is easier said than done.
And that is what makes me, God, that is so, Jordan, that is what brings tears to my eyes. Dude, easier. Oh, man, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
At what stage in your life did that become easier to feed the good? When does it become easier to feed the good wolf?
Do you find it easier to feed the good wolf?
I'm 74 years. I'm out of here. I'm on to the next. I'm on to the next rotation. So for me, easier.
Easier, right? Not easy, but easier.
No, easier. Thank you, Jordan. Easy, okay. And I don't want I don't want to fluff myself up too much. Easier.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit better today than I was maybe 60 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Do you hear? But I didn't just all of a sudden turn a corner and become capable of being good regardless of the other day, I was sitting talking with someone who wants to be an elementary school teacher. This guy became a famous restaurateur, this and that, like you. He'd done so much success on certain levels, and he wants to now teach. And he put me down as a reference. He's teaching, he's Catholic. He's teaching at some Saint whatever it is, saying something about it, saying somebody. And we were talking over in Tuckahoe at the Tap House. And we were talking, and the more we spoke, I realized this guy was almost like a Trump. He was a Trump apologist, okay? And then I remember thinking, I said to him, hey man, let's talk about something else. We were there with another friend, popped in, Dr. Manzi, and then let's talk about, because I didn't want him to tell me who he was. I'm going to be a reference.
Yeah, right.
But I'm going to tell you something. I have other problems. I'm not a liar. I have other problems. But I'm almost as conspicuous, as my ex-wife said, you know, if you had been a better liar, we'd be married today. She said, that was your problem. I said, what happened? She said, what happened? Every time I asked you some shit, you would tell me the truth. That's what happened. Okay. So I literally, at one point, I paid the bill and got up and walked away. I just left him sitting there because I was just afraid that I wasn't man enough yet to allow him to be a Trump person and still endorse him as a teacher. Jordan, I'm just telling you, I didn't think, you know, I right now, I can tell you that I could honestly endorse him because he's a good, man, I know the good in him. Mm-hmm. But he was testing me. In my head, he was testing who I think I am. You know, I don't judge people. Well, I say that I don't, you hear me, Jordan? I say that I don't judge people. I say, okay, a lot of this shit I'm saying to myself. You know, I don't lie to other people. I think the lies I've been telling, I've been lying to me. That's who I've been lying to, because everybody's a liar. I've been lying to myself. So I finally said to myself, all right, man, forgive him. Bobby Womack has a song called "The Greatest Man in the Universe is the Man who can forgive first." So it's Bobby Womack. You know, Bobby Womack, who was tapping Sam Cooke's wife. Anyways, whose brother ends up marrying Sam Cooke's daughter. I mean, I love the Womacks. I love their music. I love people who can wail. I love like that. I love that raw. I love that raw. That unwimpy. That sounded the Stratocaster, taking it all the way back. When you said that, Rashid didn't have that. It was a wimpy song. Anyway, I like cats who sing with that raw. So I'm just saying that test allowed me to become a little bit better. In other words, I can write the recommendation, I can be a good reference. Just because in a given, I know what he said. He said, I can't stand Trump and I can't stand Biden. They're both this and that. And I thought to myself, well, please tell me that you can't stand them for different reasons.
Right.
Okay, if you can't stand, but Biden, it just doesn't evoke, it had to be different reasons. Okay. Anyway, being a long story short, what you said about the Cherokee piece, easier said.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question about, since you stopped teaching. I feel sometimes now, like that, now that I'm not teaching anymore, my highs aren't as high and my lows aren't as low. Have you?
Same here. I went so far as to call Ken Bonamo, who's the headmaster, the principal of Scarsdale High School, and let him know, hey man, if you need me, you know, if any teachers jump ship or whatever, and you can give my salary to one of the school's charities or whatever. That's how far I went with it. That's how far I went with it. And which is why when you hollered at me, a former student of mine, Debbie Epstein, hollered at me. I did a podcast, but when you hollered at me, it was just like an opportunity, to feel the energy. Do you know what I mean? That you would, the sharing, the energy of sharing.
Yes.
The energy.
It's like sharing with however many kids you had, somewhere between 24 and 32.
Correct. It's not. Dude, I'm just saying. And I get up at 4. I get up early in the morning, man. Thank God I can read. I just have to do some shit to convince myself that I'm doing some shit that's significant, that's going to increase someone else outside of myself.
Right.
But like you said, also the disappointments. But in those disappointments, sometimes that's how you know you're alive. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying, Jordan?
Yeah.
Sometimes you know that you care. Because if you couldn't feel disappointment at that level, shame on your ass. Because you got to be...
Right. You're a uniquely unself-critical person if you can just go through your days as a teacher being like, that was okay. Right. I cashed my check this week. That's not.
John. And there's a beautiful girl who's a English teacher. Her name is Amanda Philly. She has a wonderful husband and 2 little children, and she lives not far away. And I reached out to her and just to say, hey, I'm thinking of you. And she said, are you free next Saturday to have some sort of brunch or whatever? And I think a light went off. I'm going to sort of contact little human teachers who are there now, and just offer them a place at a table where we can have, some conversation and some convivial colloquy, just sit down and because as much for me.
Right.
I'm just saying, Jordan, as much for me. I mean, it can appear to be a wonderful gesture of goodwill. But let me make a suggestion, because I think you're the man for this. There's a program in Scarsdale called STEP.
Right. Yeah.
Would you do me a favor, do us a favor, and contact the people at the head of the program and let them put you in touch with the first STEP student?
Oh, that's a great
and
idea.
The most recent. They gave me some sort of an award for the 50th anniversary. And all I could think of, God, Jordan, you're so in my head. I didn't even know you, and you were in my head. Is that I wanted to talk to the first. They were fluffing me up. And I'm thinking, dude, I get some money. But I wanted to see, because it can't just be a straight line of ascension. It got better and better and better. I want to hear about the ups and downs of that shit.
Right.
Because you're going to drag somebody from Tennessee or from wherever. You're going to all of a sudden they have a bedroom in a big ass house. Yeah. And they eat different food, their accent. They may not be, maybe they're better prepared. The point is, Jordan, it would be fascinating to see in the measure of beginning to the present.
Yeah.
And they have the addresses and names of these folks. And these folks, by virtue of the program, I would almost say would be willing. And if you were to ask to say, I don't know, Rashid Silvera, of course they'll know, but he really made me promise that I would at least reach out to you. Okay, I think that would be a hell of a story. Juxtapose of all the native born and all the cats who had real, I can give you, if you want, you'll let me know. But that to me, because I don't know that, Jordan. I don't know that. And I think a lot of these cats have been telling me what I wanted to hear. These STEP students who would come up, they're trying to make me feel more okay. Even though I've been close to them,
Yeah.
Remember you said conscious or unconscious? Yeah, I would be consciously aware, okay, Jordan, of
Yeah.
a step student.
Yes.
I
Yes.
would be very consciously, okay? And, I would try to like fill in the gaps and stuff, but I'm not sure. They were too busy trying to get what was to be got. I don't think they really spent a lot of time telling anybody from whence they had come, well, okay, and how different it was.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you can show up, but you're Jewish, you're part Jewish, and you model. You got these other.
Oh yeah, man! I got all that. There's no reason not to like my ass.
And there's five things to grab onto that aren't you being black.
Correct. That's what I missed expressing. What I was trying to say.
I understand. I understand.
Jordan, I know, God bless you. There are all those things, but none of them were grabbing me because I was black. Good thing, not so good thing. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, if what you got was of some value, then it was a good thing. But if you thought I was concealing that, or you thought that didn't have any value, then that was not a good thing. I don't think I ever, I worked at being exposed, but nothing is perfect. For all the effort that I may have been expending and being accessible, all it takes is one cat to say, I'm a poor black dude from blah, blah, blah. Rashid he knows nothing about being a black dude.
Yeah.
And by the way, I didn't grow up in the South. You know what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean? I don't know that.
Right.
And I'm trying to give you an opportunity to let you know I'm interested, I'm open, I'm available to hear it. But some children, I mean, they guard stuff. They guard stuff that they think they're trying to leave. They're trying to get that Scarsdale piece.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get that brass ring. And they're trying to get their feet out what they think is the mud. And sometimes the mud is just what it is. It's just water and dirt. It's truth. It's just nature. And no matter where you go, you're gonna step in the, man, you're gonna water and dirt. Everywhere you go is water and dirt. There is a coach. His name is Jack Kaminer. Jack Kaminer, Kaminer, who is a coach of Scarsdale basketball when Earl Graves' oldest son was the major star. And this is when Scarsdale was beating all these so-called black teams. They were just, all this. And Jack Kaminer was from Brooklyn. Jewish brother raised around black dudes who had already been a famous coach in Brooklyn and comes to Scarsdale. I'm not even sure I know how Jackie got to Scarsdale, but it was very interesting. His story about traveling to other communities with an all-white Jewish team and a brother, Earl Graves Sr., and kicking everyone's ass. And the shit that Butchie had to hear from, and how these other cats on his team had his back. It's the strangest combination of shit. Other cats had put themselves in front of his shit to protect him. Now, he's living in one of the biggest houses in Scarsdale.
Right.
Father's head of black and black. So this is like, nigga, who? Who is a nigga? Is there a nigga in here somewhere? This cat, like, nigga, what? So, and these other cats, man. So I'm just saying, if you need any hot sauce down the road, I doubt that you will, because if people tell you the truth, there's some stories to be told, is what I'm saying. Most of the Brown families that I've been associated with whom I've been associated, created platforms where they were unembarrassed to say that their children went to Scarsdale High School, and people were unembarrassed to have them as neighbors. Matter of fact, were just, they were the best neighbors you could have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what Trump and all these other cats are selling now with this fear is that if these brown folks, your property values, I mean, it's such an uncreative tack to take that, in my experience, could be disproven to a large degree by what I experienced or what I saw in Scarsdale. And once again, that is not to say that behind the scenes, under the cover of darkness, some of these people weren't crying, but more often than not, I saw pride and participation in the community from brown folks. They didn't spend all this energy getting to Scarsdale to let Scarsdale let them down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, they weren't going to let that happen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my feeling. Do you realize we've been doing this for 2 hours?
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. It's totally amazing.
It's amazing. If you don't know, I'm not a telephone person. When I tell my ex-wife that I did, she's going to go like, really?
Yeah.
Really? And let's not lose this.
Yeah.
Let's not lose the Copeland Silvera thing.
Yeah, for sure. For
okay?
sure. Really
all right, man. Let's not lose that. All right, babe.
This was wonderful. And
oh yeah, back at you, Jordan. Back at you, man. This was nourishing. Thank you very much, man.